Shauna, good to see you all tuning in. If you are new to the channel, anybody else, please do hit that subscribe button down below and make sure to hit the like button on this stream as well if you are looking forward to the January transfer window. And without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Ryan, good to see you in the live chat as well. Newcastle fans saying, I feel Conte and Paratici will do a madness this window. I hope they do. I hope they do. Alasdair Gold has been telling us who we're actually going to be looking at in this January window, and he has said that the current feeling within the club is that a new left-sided centre-back, a right wing-back and a natural number 9 striker will be in the potential targets for Tottenham next month. And look, new left-sided centre-back, I think that probably shows that Antonio Conte doesn't see Ben Davies as a long-term option for that position, and we will be talking about Ben Davies a little bit later. He has some quotes for us with regards to how he's feeling at the club at the moment. A new right wing back. Look, straight away on the 4 of that, you can look at it and say it's bad news for Emerson Royale, who, you know, having just been brought in the summer, probably underwhelming at the moment. You question, is he going to be replaced? But we'll talk about Matt Doherty a little bit later as well. And a natural number 9 striker, well, it's been the problem we've had for 5-6 years trying to get a backup to Harry Kane, or maybe at the moment what might be a partner for Harry Kane up there along with Heung-min Son. So let's see where that goes. Now, Fabrizio Romano has also said that Tottenham will look for a centre-back in January. I think that is the main target and the number 1 priority that Tottenham have to have. We do have good news on the Christian Romero injury front, but in terms of depth, I think we are struggling a little bit back there as we look to continue and bring that 3 at the back into the remainder of the season. Romano has also said an important January for Tottenham rather is expected. Definitive decisions have not yet been made, but Steven Bergwijn could be sold, and the idea is to buy at least 2 new players. So Tottenham looking to have a bit of a busy one. And look, we know over the last couple of weeks that Antonio Conte has been talking to the club about his evaluation of the squad and what he wants to do. James and Darksong G, 2 channel members, thank you so much for tuning in. Good to see you as always. And now Dan Kilpatrick has said that Conte said he has 100% completed his evaluation of the squad and is now waiting to have a meeting with the club, presumably with Daniel Levy, Fabio Paratici and Steve Hitchen, and quote, to give my opinion about the squad. And Kilpatrick says he would love to be a fly on the wall for that. And interestingly, we've actually gotten a few open answers from Antonio Conte about the future of a few squad members, Harry Winks and Hugo Lloris in particular, and we'll be diving right into those quotes a little bit later. We also have him being a bit more tentative and a bit more secretive with regards to the future of Tanguy and Dembele, but we'll again go into all of that. Michael Bridge has said, of Sky Sports, a friend of the channel, has said the Spurs management are very clear in what they need and who they want in the January window. And it's a very good start because typically it's a little bit later in the window before we do have those targets kind of finalised, but Tottenham know exactly what they want. And Antonio Conte himself has said, for sure, we need new signings. After only 2 weeks, I said we needed to improve the quality of this squad. And he said it after that defeat against NS Moura in the Conference League, that the level of Tottenham was not so high. And he's had quite a while to really dive into that squad and see who we can trust, who we can't. And he knows who he wants. He knows the signings that we need to make. Pete from the Lane, good to see you, my friend. And Steve Radisler, good to see you in the live chat as well. Look, let's dive into it, and we start with contract news. I mean, we'll start with an exclusive that I put out on Twitter on Christmas Day, and that is that I have been told very reliably by a number of sources that Tottenham are in talks with Harry Kane over a new contract. Now, I said it in August as well that there were whispers from the Harry Kane camp that a new contract is a possibility if that move to Manchester City didn't go through. Well, of course, as we know, that deal didn't go through. Now, the motivation for Harry Kane signing this contract may have been changed. And further to the fact that there are talks ongoing, I don't have any actual information, so the rest of this is kind of personal opinion and personal assumption. But it felt in August, when it was early August, when that deal kind of started to look less and less likely, the whispers came out that Kane would be open to signing this new contract. It felt as though he just wanted an extra couple of $100,000 a week, or an extra $100,000 a week, and a release clause to get out when he wanted. But now with the Nuno era over, Antonio Conte is in. He's feeling happy around the club. He's more excited about the prospects of the club. But Conte, with Paratici, with the way we're performing at the moment, it could maybe be a fact that he wants to stay at the club. I still do think if he does put pen to paper on a new deal, that there will still be a release clause in there and a way out for him as he pushes on towards his 30s and is typically and has always been an injury-prone player. It'll be very interesting to see how this one plays out, but I can confirm that Tottenham are in talks with Harry Kane over a new contract. And there has been a few reports since I said this on Christmas Day The Athletic have said Tottenham Hotspur could offer Harry Kane a new contract amidst interest from Manchester City. Darren Bent has also said on TalkSport, I heard, and I have to stress it was a rumour, but it's that he's potentially going to stay and sign a new contract there. George Bannister, another reliable Tottenham reporter on Twitter, has said, on Kane and a new contract, I expect we'll start to hear more on this soon. Both sides have new confidence in the future under Conte. January is big, both in ambitions for the club and to also show Harry or direction. Dark Sung G with the 5,001, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate the super chat. Says, if we get transfers, then we can beat Chelsea 3 times in January. Since they have a lot of injuries and are dropping points, we can win 2 trophies and top 3. And those games against Chelsea are absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. And as I mentioned on the top of the show, there is trouble brewing in West London. If you haven't seen, Romelu Lukaku has dropped an absolute bombshell in an interview with Sky Sport Italia, saying he doesn't want to be there and he's not happy. So hopefully that will cause a bit of trouble in the Chelsea camp. But absolutely, trophies are on. I'm not sure about top 3, but top 4 is definitely on, and it is because of Antonio Conte. But Darkson G, thank you so much for that super chat. Jonathan says, do you think Kessie is a certainty? I can say with almost absolute certainty that Tottenham will not be signing Frank Kessie this January, and I don't have any inside information on that, but I can't see AC Milan selling in the January transfer window when they're looking to win the league for the first time in way over a decade. So if I were a betting man, I'd put all the money I have on Kessie and not joining Tottenham, not even leaving AC Milan this January. But in the summer, I do think he will be one of our top targets unless something goes horrifically wrong with the rest of his season. Steve says, I personally think we should be trying to secure another striker before trying to tie Kane to another deal, unless I'm being daft. Look, I think both are probably equally as important as each other. But I see you're thinking of that we, it's going to take a lot of money, for example, to tie Harry Kane down to a new deal. That's money that could be better invested elsewhere, given, Kane, I know he's kind of turned his form a little bit around now. But it's a good point, Steve, and I do, to some extent, agree with you on that as well. Now, there has been one report to the contrary on that, and Alasdair Gold said, I think it was on Boxing Day, that both those within Harry Kane's camp and those within Tottenham maintain that talks have not yet begun over a new contract for the striker. Now, those parties saying contract talks haven't begun does not mean contract talks haven't begun. And look, Alasdair Gold's sources are obviously better than mine, that goes without saying, but I'm not sure that's as definitive a report as we've seen from Gold in the past, but one to keep an eye on. One to definitely keep an eye on. Now, another player that we are hoping will put pen to paper on a new deal at Tottenham is Hugo Lloris, and Antonio Conte has been talking about it, and quite a few reports have been talking about him as well. We'll start with Antonio Conte, who today said Hugo is a Tottenham player. He's the captain and he wants to stay. For sure, he will talk to the club to try find a solution. I think Hugo wants to stay. He loves the club. He stays well in Tottenham. So very, very positive update there from Antonio Conte about the future of Hugo Lloris, after we had reports in the last couple of days that Lloris could be heading home and heading back to Nice on a free transfer at the end of the season. But quite a bit of positivity and optimism there from our head coach. Alasdair Gold has also said, as of the start of this week, there had been no movement on a new contract for Hugo Lloris, but there is a belief that all sides want a deal done. And I think two very similar situations there with Kane and Lloris's contracts from Alasdair Gold. That one is a lot more definitive. TalkSport have also said Antonio Conte wants Hugo Lloris to sign a new Tottenham contract and remain at the club. Conte also isn't convinced by Pierluigi Gallini, of course the goalkeeper that we signed from Atalanta over the summer, and there are updates on potential goalkeeper targets for Tottenham, which I think may say a lot about the opinion around Pierluigi Gallini, but we'll dive into those in a second. The reports on Lloris to Nice, it was Foot Mercato in the last couple of days who said that Hugo Lloris could return to France for former club OGC Nice. The goalkeeper has made it his priority for next summer. Negotiations between Hugo Lloris and the club will intensify on Saturday, with the Tottenham captain open to returning on a free. And look, first of all, it's Saturday because on New Year's Day, the 1st of January, under the Bosman ruling, Hugo Lloris can negotiate with European clubs on a pre-contract deal for the summer. So that's why it's such a specific day. But I think I'd take Antonio Conte's word that Lloris wants to stay before I'd listen to a source from France saying that it's not true. So I'm optimistic on Hugo Lloris signing a new contract, and it's a very important one for us as well, because I said it a few weeks ago on Twitter that I can't imagine Tottenham without Lloris. I'm scared to imagine Tottenham without Hugo Lloris, because he's been such an incredible servant to the club for 8-9 years now, and he's had his ups and downs. There's no doubt about that. But who hasn't? Name me a keeper in world football at the moment who hasn't had ups and downs in some time. David De Gea is only just coming back from a 2-3 year drop in form. Marc-Andre ter Stegen at Barcelona is having an absolute nightmare of a season. Even Manuel Neuer had a few dodgy months at Bayern. So No question about it. Tottenham need to keep Hugo Lloris as a captain, as a goalkeeper, as everything. We need him, and it looks as though we may be getting to keep him. Moving on to some potential outgoings. We'll start with Matt Doherty, as we mentioned a while ago, and Fabrizio Romano has this evening said that Matt Doherty has serious chances to leave Tottenham in January. He also said that Doherty is open to leaving the club, and as Alasdair Gold said, we're looking for a new right wing back. It's potentially to come in and support Emerson Royal in that position, or to give him a bit of competition rather than to replace him, because if we're losing one right back in Doherty, well, we have to replace him if we want to keep that depth in our squad, and it looks as though Doherty will be on the way out. And look, I'm Irish, he's Irish. I would have absolutely loved to see him succeed at Tottenham, but the time for that is gone. He barely even got a look into the squad in those 4 months under Nuno Espirito Santo, who got the best out of him at Wolves, and I think that just tells you all you really need to know about Doherty and his potential to succeed at the club. It looks as though that time is coming to an end, and I think he could go back down to a club, maybe at the level of Wolves, Newcastle, maybe looking for a right back. Let's see where he goes. I think he'll do well with those teams, but best of luck to him. That's all we can really say. Cameron Carter-Vickers, who many may be surprised to hear that is still a Tottenham player. He's on loan at Celtic, of course, at the moment, and according to the Scottish Sun, Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou has revealed signing Cameron Carter-Vickers permanently is a New Year priority. The Celtic boss is keen to get a £6 million deal for the on-loan Spurs defender completed during the winter break, and really the only effect that has on Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is that we get £6 million. Carter-Vickers hasn't played. He's probably played a handful of games in the last 3-4 years for the football club on a competitive level, so it's just $6 million in the bank. We're not exactly losing a player, which is always good. Harry Winks, another player that Antonio Conte has been speaking about. First of all, Dan Kilpatrick said, it was either yesterday or today, that it is now very unlikely Harry Winks will leave Tottenham in January, and the magic of Antonio Conte is that that's great news for Tottenham. Man of the match against Liverpool, another brilliant performance against Southampton during the week. Rather unlucky not to have gotten an assist on what could have been the winning goal until VAR decided to have their inaccurate say. But Antonio Conte has also been speaking about Winks, and he said Winksy has shown himself to be a reliable player. For this reason, Winks will stay here. I'm finding out which players are reliable and I can count on him. So high praise there in Harry Winks, who it seems before the appointment of Antonio Conte had kind of resigned himself to the fact that it wasn't going to happen for him at Tottenham. It struggled under Nuno, under Jose Mourinho, had a bit of a stint under Ryan Mason, but of course not a permanent manager there. They looked as though he had accepted that maybe his time at Tottenham was up, but Antonio Conte has revived his career at the club and is again giving massive praise to Harry Winks, and you couldn't find a more opposite reaction to a manager being asked about the player than the next one in Tanguy Ndombele. And when asked if Tanguy Ndombele wanted to leave the club in January, Antonio Conte said it isn't, quote, right or honest to talk about players coming or going until he has spoken to the club. And furthermore to that, he was asked about Tanguy Ndombele's role within the squad. And as Guha says it there, asked about the role in the squad, all Antonio Conte had to say is, he is a midfielder. And that's it. No more, no less than that. Very, very kind of held back in his analysis of the player. And that would lead me to believe that maybe there wasn't much good to say with regards to Ndombele. And well, it looks as though he'd be leaving the club in January, because Fabrizio Romano has also said this evening that Tottenham will look for a solution for Tanguy Ndombele to leave the club next month, as they attempted to do during the last transfer window. So we know towards the end of that summer window, Tottenham were trying to move Ndombele on. And it looks as though Antonio Conte has come to the same decision. And it's not really much of a surprise. A player who has struggled to really play more than 60 minutes in a game at Tottenham Hotspur, and now you're looking at one of the most intense and physically demanding managers like Antonio Conte. It's not going to work out for Ndombele, and I'll always have the same analysis of the player. He is one of the most technically gifted and talented footballers I've seen put on a Tottenham jersey, but that's all he's got. And it's a damn shame that is where we're at, and that's the situation we're in, because him leaving the club is probably the best thing for us. And if we can get 30-40 million from a Bayern Munich or a PSG or a Barcelona or something like that, well, I think he'll go and do well there. And I think it's good money to get back for Tottenham, despite the fact that it was up to £65 million that we paid for him. It was a massive gamble. It hasn't paid off, but let's cut our losses before it's too late. Sad to see him go because of what could have been, but in terms of what will most likely be if he does stay at the club, I think it is best to, like I mentioned, cut those losses. A few more players who could be on the way out, moving further forward in the pitch. Stephen Bergwijn, and we've had a lot of links to Ajax over the last couple of weeks and a few unnamed European clubs as well. But Diario AS have said that Stephen Bergwijn could become a target for Sevilla again in January, with the winger looking to leave Tottenham. Now, we already know that Sevilla are in the market for a winger. They've already had a loan offer turned down for Manchester United's Anthony Martial. So Stephen Bergwijn may be target number 2. And Mike Verwij of the Telegraph in the Netherlands is still saying Ajax want him. He's a chief target for them. And well, I think it's fairly easy to say that Bergwijn would like a move there back home to the Netherlands and to the team that yet again looks set to run away with the league in that country. So we'll see what happens with Bergwijn. Like I said earlier, Romano mentioned he could still leave the club. An interesting one that I wasn't really expecting yesterday, and Gerard Romero, a top journalist for Barcelona, as well as Rashad Rahman, they both said that Bryan Hill has been offered by his agent to Barcelona following the latest updates on Ousmane Dembele's situation. And there had been a few whispers out of Barcelona in the last couple of weeks that they were interested in Bryan Hill on loan. And look, my first reaction to this was that there's no way Tottenham sanctioned this deal. Maybe a loan deal, potentially, if they can get an absolute guarantee of game time for the player over there. But in terms of a permanent move, there's no way they sanction that. I would be absolutely flabbergasted if that's something that Tottenham are even considering. Was it £25 million and Eric Lamela over the summer for a player who, look, let's be honest, hasn't lived up to expectation. I know he's a player for the future, but in terms of the effect that he could have on a squad straight away, and in terms of the performances he's putting in, he hasn't lived up to expectation at all. And I'm worried, is this another Jack Clark, or is this another player who won't really hit that level that we wanted him to get to? Of course that concern is there, but when you've invested so much money only 5-6 months ago, it would be absolutely bonkers to even consider letting him go on a permanent deal. And like I said, if it's a loan deal, we need a guarantee from Barcelona that there will be game time there for him. Now, Ousmane Dembele is leaving the club more than likely, if not definitely, in January. I'm going to touch on that a little bit more in a second, but it's a weird one. It is a weird one. And Barcelona, yes, they were interested in the player while he was at Sevilla. They liked him while he was at Eibar. But I think his situation has changed, and the interest still being there maybe says a bit more about Barcelona's current situation, both on and off the pitch, than it says about anything else. But a surprising one to keep an eye on. And Sam Lee there makes a good point. No loan to Barca. Brian needs PL experience, so loan him over here. It's a very good point. I think it's the kind of the physicality is a massive part of the league that he's struggling to get used to. And if he goes back to Spain, it's just another 6 months of development without that. So good point there by Sam. Now, looking at potential incomings, and we mentioned the interest in goalkeepers, and there's two being mentioned here, two English goalkeepers. First of all, TalkSport say that Tottenham have entered the race in signing goalkeeper Sam Johnston, and Samuel Luckhurst has said that Tottenham are monitoring Dean Henderson's situation with a view to a summer transfer as Hugo Lloris approaches the last 6 months of his contract. Now, the first thing I notice here, two English goalkeepers. And I said it before with regards to Joe Hart. I think when we were looking at Sam Johnson over the summer, that when we're so close to the homegrown quota, a good place really to make up an English name, and I think it's why we brought Joe Hart in, is in that backup goalkeeper. Because Pierluigi Galini at the moment, who was really underwhelmed in the games he's played in the Conference League, and I'm not going to say he's a bad goalkeeper, I'm not going to say get rid of him, because I don't think he's had enough time to prove just how good he is and just how good he can be. But if there's a place where you need to make up one English player, well, why not go in that position that really doesn't get that much game time? Unless Lloris is suspended, unless Lloris is injured, you wouldn't expect that backup keeper to get on a Premier League pitch at all. So if you want to sacrifice a tiny bit of quality there, and look, if we go from Galini to Johnson or Henderson, perhaps we're gaining quality. I'm not saying these goalkeepers are worse than Galini, but it's a decent place to take a hit to make up a bit of that homegrown quota. And the two keepers that have been linked to Tottenham in the past, Dean Henderson wants to leave Manchester United. Sam Johnson in the Championship at West Brom. It's not set in stone. They'll be promoted this season. So maybe he wants to move back to the Premier League. Situations to keep an eye on is the best thing I can say there. Moving into the back line, and really there's only one new link to a centre back this week, and it's not exactly a positive one. It's Stefan de Vrij of Inter Milan, and Alasdair Gold has really said that in terms of finances and style of play, he's the damn perfect option for Tottenham Hotspur, but it's looking extremely unlikely that a move there will go ahead.
He said, De Vrij, another with 18 months left on his contract, is more in the ballpark, and he can play on the left side of a back three, a position I understand the club believe they have a gap to fill to compete with Ben Davies. Again, though, whether Inter would sell the 29-year-old Dutchman who starts every match for them for an affordable fee halfway through the season is a huge ask. And it really is. It's the exact same as what I said about Frank Kezia. It's just maybe not the most realistic thing in the world that those Milan clubs will be willing to let go of these players that play a pivotal part in what is a very tight title battle for them. So I think when you're looking at those players, and maybe also looking at the likes of Brozovic and Sailmakers, who I've mentioned on the channel before, I think maybe it's time to just look at a few more realistic options for January window, which we know was so much more difficult to do business in than the summer window. Paul Markey with the €5 super chat. Paul, legend, thank you so much. Says Dembele, we don't want another sick note. Julian Alvarez, don't want United to get him. He's much better than Vlahovic. Look, I'd rather Alvarez over Vlahovic, mainly for financial reasons, but also Alvarez is a very good player. And like you mentioned there, United at the moment, in what we're reading in the press, seem to be leading the race to bring him in. But on Ousmane Dembele, as you say there, and I saw Ryan say it as well, I don't want Dembele at Newcastle. He's injury prone, and it'll be a money move. That's it. I think, and Ryan, I mean this in the nicest way possible, that's the type of move Newcastle will go for, because they obviously want to bring in massive marquee signings, but they're not really going to tempt a player at the top of his game. And I know people always compare it to this, but I think it's a very good comparison. When Man City signed Robinho, it just seems to be a very similar thing. Look, there's nothing to say Dembele can't do well for Newcastle. You know, once he stays on the football pitch, he will be a very good player, and it's the same for Tottenham as you're saying, Paul. But I can absolutely understand, and I fully agree with and have the same qualms as a fan if you are going to be bringing Ousmane Dembele in. But again, we have a few small reports on him in a second. Brian Daigle, absolute legend. Maddie Hayes, thank you, Brian. Thank you for a member for 8 months. That is a true supporter of the channel, both in the live chat and behind the scenes. Brian, you're an absolute legend, and thank you for the continued support and all that. So it's an answer to your question. No, we will not have a good transfer window. We need to speak soon, brother. Hashtag get well, Bob. Yeah, look, first of all, again, thoughts continue to be with Bob and his family as he goes through a very, very tough time at the moment. But yeah, look, I kind of hope I disagree with you, if that makes sense. I can see where you're coming from, that we won't have a good transfer window. And I kind of have the same worries, but I think if we can move on a Doherty and an Ndombele and maybe a Giovanni Lo Celso, there's a lot of room there to get players in. And I'm hoping that's how it goes. But like I mentioned, in a January window, it's very difficult to really get those that first kind of cog in the wheel moving, and then trying to move it on from there. It's maybe just not enough time in the month when teams are focusing on the pitch as well as off the pitch. But Brian, thank you for your support on the channel, and absolutely agree. Get well soon, Bob. Moving into the midfield, and Gianluigi Langari, who's actually had quite a bit to say about Tottenham this week, has said that Tottenham have been offered the chance to sign Juventus midfielder Arthur Melo. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know much about Arthur Melo. If the reports continue, if they become a bit more reliable, I will absolutely tell you everything you need to know about Melo, and I will be his number one fan, hopefully. But just a quick one to bring there, that we have apparently been offered the chance to sign him from Juventus. Gianluca Di Marzio has crushed a few dreams in the last day or two. He has said that Christian Eriksen will not be returning to Tottenham. Antonio Conte's demands of his players will be too much for the midfielder, who needs months to get back to the right rhythm and intensity. And look, it's upsetting, but it makes complete sense. We saw videos of Christian Eriksen on a training ground somewhere, I think probably for Odense in Denmark, whipping free kicks into the top corner. It was beautiful to see him at that again, but unfortunately it looks very unlikely that he'll be doing so in a Tottenham jersey. One player who maybe will be in a Tottenham jersey come the end of January, looking at the reports at the moment, is Juventus and Sweden winger Dejan Kulaszewski. Rudy Giletti, first of all, has said that Tottenham are seriously interested in signing Dejan Kulaszewski. Paratici and Conte both rate the player, and an offer to Juventus could happen in the next few days. Langari, who we mentioned a second ago, said Tottenham Hotspur are interested in Juventus duo Kulaszewski and Weston McKennie. Before we talk about that one, Giovanni Albanese said that Fabio Paratici could bring Kulaszewski to Spurs. With Antonio Conte backing the signing, Juventus are willing to sell him but want at least €35 million. La Stampa have said the Spurs are ready to make their move to sign Kulaszewski by offering Juventus their €35 million asking price. And Calcio Mercato say that Tottenham are in pole position to sign Dejan Kulaszewski in January, with Antonio Conte's side could offer a fee of around €35 million. So quite a bit coming out of Italy there that Tottenham are really pushing for a move for Kulaszewski, and it'll be a very good signing. It will be a very good signing. He's a very talented winger. He's young. He has a nice bit of end product, and I feel like he'll fit perfectly into our system where, where wingers aren't exactly natural traditional wingers, where they fill into those more central areas. They create those numerical overloads in the middle. They allow the space for the wing backs, all that good stuff that we've spoken about time and time again. With Antonio Conte tactically, Kulaszewski fits into that, and there's a lot of people I always look out for on Twitter who have a much better knowledge of European football than I do, and HG from the Cheese Room podcast is one of those, and he loves Kulaszewski and he wants him, so that's almost enough for me to say it's a good sign. If you haven't already subscribed to the Cheese Room podcast, do make sure to go over and do that on YouTube. Incredible shows. But yeah, look, HG wants him. I'm happy. That's enough. But a very good player, one that seems to be really heating up at the moment. So that's one to probably keep an eye on. And as mentioned there by one of those about an offer in the next couple of days, Kulaszewski could be one that happens very early in the window, if that is true, of course. Adama Traore, and this is he's quickly turning into our modern day Leandro Damião in terms of just talking about him every single window. Alasdair has said that Paratici likes Adama Traore and our lovely line and wanted to sign him at Juventus. He's got 18 months left now in his contract. I'd imagine a deal in January would be difficult to do and still pricey. Romano as well saying Adama Traore is really appreciated by Tottenham pair Antonio Conte and Fabio Paratici. And look, I'll say the same again, I don't want him. He's such a good player. He can run past players if they're not even there. He carries the ball so well, but his end product just isn't good enough. It isn't, and you can question the finishing of the players he plays with at Wolves. You can question all you want about them, but the simple fact of the matter is it's been a problem for Adama Traore the whole way through his career. That end product isn't there. Look, it's improving, but it's not at the level where you'd want us to spend 30-40 million pounds on him, which is probably what we will have to do. If we're going for a player of that ilk, of that kind of nature, who just runs with such pace and power and has Premier League experience, I prefer Alan St-Maximin, but I have the same worries about him as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, look, on Ousmane Dembele, Gerard Romero has said that Barcelona will listen to offers of €50 million for Spurs target Ousmane Dembele. The winger will not be renewing his contract after negotiations fell apart on Wednesday. The Catalan club want to sell him in January to avoid losing him for free in the summer. And straight away I look at that and think, if you're worried about losing him for free in 6 months' time, why are you asking for €50 million? I can't imagine any team is going to pay that to get a player 6 months early, unless Newcastle trying to get their big deal done. But various reports as well that Manchester United and Newcastle have approached Barcelona and Ousmane Dembele over a move this January. So look, we have to wait and see where he goes. Ryan says, hands off my boy Alan. Look, I don't want him. I don't want him, Ryan. But look, if you get Dembele, maybe we can have a chat then. Maybe Conte can turn St-Maximin into the best right wing back in English football. Let's see what happens. Dusan Vlahovic, again, another player that we seem to be talking about so much. Gianluca Di Marzio say that Dusan Vlahovic's agents think that Tottenham, Man City or Man United are more suitable to the player than Arsenal. So as the Spurs web on Twitter put it, a big rejection bomba there, as they say, we don't want Arsenal. Sky Sports in Italy are also saying that Fiorentina want €70 million, which is about £58.7 million for Tottenham Hotspur target Dusan Vlahovic in January. And Gianluigi Langari as well has said Dusan Vlahovic is a target for Tottenham, but in the summer. And this is what I've been expecting. This is what I've been saying. I expect it will come out eventually. That it's just too much money in January to get that done. And just to mention as well, Carriera said a few weeks ago that the price for Vlahovic will drop to £40 million in the summer as he moves into the final year of his contract. And £40 million, well, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, is the offer that Tottenham made last summer. So it depends on how, with that striker target Alasdair is talking about in January, if that is trying to get Vlahovic or is to try and get a striker. Well, it depends on if we are set in stone and getting him or trying to get him. That may see whether we complete that move in January or in the summer. But I feel like I'm being extremely negative here. But for 70 million, for 60 million, I don't want him. For 40 next summer, let's talk. But for that at the moment, with the fact that he's only really proven himself in the Serie A, and it's only really been for 18 months, it's very easy for that form to fall off if he does get a move to the Premier League. Look, let's wait and see. But for 70, for 60, it's a move that I would rather at the moment Tottenham shy away from. Two targets that we've been reportedly linked with in the last couple of months, last year or so, are joining other clubs. Basically, Lorenzo Insigne has agreed personal terms with Toronto FC. According to various reports, it looks as though he will be joining them in January, and he may be joined by Torino striker Andrea Bellotti. Again, various sources reporting that Toronto have made their move for Bellotti, and he could very well join Insigne in joining the Canadian-based MLS side. So two reported targets gone there. Quotes from Ben Davies, as we mentioned, as Tottenham look for a new left wing back. Ryan, little big man, absolute legend, becoming a channel member. He's a Newcastle fan, not even a Spurs fan, and he's joining the channel membership. Thank you so much for that, Ryan. I really do appreciate it. In that Champions League level, absolute legend, and just like Brian Daigle, a massive supporter of the channel, both in the chat and behind the scenes as well. Brian, you're a legend. Anyone else, if you do want to join the channel membership, just hit that join button directly below the video, and everything will be explained for you there, including the perks that you get for joining. Be a legend, be like Ryan. Thank you very much for that, my friend. But Ben Davies, I'm playing at left centre back. He said, it's somewhere I really enjoy playing. I think that position probably gets the best out of me with my best attributes. In that position, I feel like I can defend pretty well, be solid and read the game well. I'm not necessarily expected to go and beat people 1v1, which is probably not the strongest part of my game. I prefer to be able to see the game, pass the ball and make better runs. So I think it suits me well. And just another example of Antonio Conte getting the best out of a player that we thought was probably done at Spurs. Harry Winks is the other one. Ben Davies is the main one, in my opinion. Conte's the man. Conte's the saviour. A few other reports from lesser... Dubwell, thanks so much for subscribing. I appreciate that. A few lesser sources, I'll put it down here, is either poor or unknown reliability. Il Giornale have said that Tottenham are the main candidate to sign Frank Kezia. Antonio Conte has made a strong request for the midfielder to be signed. Mundo Deportivo in Spain have said Felipe Coutinho has accepted that he must leave Barcelona next month. His agent is working on a potential proposal with Tottenham and two other Premier League sides. Il Resto del Carlino have said that Tottenham Hotspur have strong interest in Bologna midfielder Matthias Svanberg. The Italian club have begun to worry and have identified a replacement. Gazzetta dello Sport said that, and I'm sorry to bring up this name again, but Juventus will ask Paulo Dybala to change the terms of the agreement they reached a few weeks ago. The forward could now decide to leave as a free agent in the summer. Mirror Sport have said former Spurs winger Gareth Bale is set to be made available for transfer by Real Madrid in January, and I'm sure you've all seen the Kylian Mbappe stuff online in the last couple of days. Tom Holland, who's revealed himself as a Tottenham fan, asked him at the Ballon d'Or ceremony if he joined Tottenham. Mbappe laughed. He was on CNN and he was asked about it, and he said Tottenham is a great club with the new stadium. Our friends play there. I watched so many games of Tottenham in the Premier League too, but I don't think I would play for Tottenham in my life. So anyone, if you were thinking of putting a bit of money on Mbappe to Tottenham, or if you were banking on that transfer for Tottenham's top four hopes, I hate to break it to you, but it's not going to be happening. Not going to be happening anytime soon. A bit of injury news, and it's good injury news, and Christian Romero returned to training today after picking up a knock, or an injury more than a knock, on the last international break with Argentina. Antonio Conte said everything is going in the right way. For us, he's an important player. It was a pity that he suffered a serious injury with his national team. We hope for him to recover very soon. I hope to have him available at the end of January. And Giovanni Lo Celso as well returned to contact training today. Antonio Conte said Giovanni has recovered from his injury and he's available for the game against Watford. Romero, Bergwijn and Sessegnon are still out. So those are the injury concerns for Spurs at the moment. Steven Bergwijn, Christian Romero and Ryan Sessegnon, who, well, it just seems isn't really catching a break at Tottenham. Had a very good performance against Liverpool, and almost immediately picks up another injury. And Lo Celso was the same. I think we've come to expect that of Lo Celso at the moment, with just constant injuries. I asked you all on Twitter for your questions. Anyone, if you don't follow me on Twitter, you're missing out. At Matt Hayes THFC. I'll pop the link in the live chat in a second. If you follow me on Twitter while we're still live, I will follow you back. So at Matt Hayes THFC, please head over and hit that follow button. So let's take those questions that we got on Twitter. Dean Corbett, a good friend of mine, says thoughts on Gil being offered to Barcelona. Surely a PR move for more game time. Look, I think for a Spanish player, it's the dream. It's the dream to go and play for Barcelona. And at the moment, it looks like Barcelona have that money. Already brought in Ferran Torres for over 50 million this window, and now potentially getting 50 million for Ousmane Dembele. Well, if that option is there, I think Brian Gill would want it to happen. I do. Whether or not he'll be able to convince Tottenham, like I said earlier, is another story. Ryan said probably going to end up missing the stream due to work. Well, you were wrong. Thanks for tuning in. He says, if so, please like and sub, everyone. He's here, but you should still like and sub. It says, but are Tottenham one of the clubs linked to Dembele, and where do you think he's most likely to go? Look, as we said there are the links there. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not sure that United is really the best option for him, and I'm not really sure where that link is coming from or why it's happening, because he doesn't seem like a player that would fit too well in the Henry, thanks for following me on Twitter. I followed you back there. He doesn't seem like the type of player who really would fit into a Rangnick side. Rune LB, thank you for the follow as well. He doesn't seem like the type of player who would fit into a Rangnick side, and with those injuries, it's just not something United need to have to contend with. I'm surprised about that, and I'll just come back to it, Ryan. I think he'll end up at Newcastle if he's going to come to the Premier League. I think it'll be to Newcastle. I'm sure there's reports around Europe that that we haven't seen about maybe top 4, top 6 teams in Germany, France, maybe in Spain as well, that are looking to bring him in. That is a possibility, but from what I've seen, if he does come to England, I think he will be a Newcastle player. Duzan, Conte season on Twitter, at Bizan4949 says, among all the positions, which one spot is the most important one for us, and especially for Conte? Look, personally, I would have said it was a playmaker. It was a number 10, but it doesn't look as though that's on the radar for Tottenham at all, which probably suggests we're going to stick with that 3-4-3 that we've been using, in which case we need a centre-back, probably a right-sided centre-back. If we're going to move for the first team, I think a right-sided will be more important than a left-sided because of how good Ben Davies is doing, but centre-back is the order of the day for Tottenham in this window. Justin Coda, at JJ Coda, says, who do you see as realistic targets? It's hard to tell at the moment, and I expected at this point we'd have kind of a clearer sign of who is going to be the exact targets rather than just positions, because Conte spoke to the club in the last couple of weeks, and while he would have given his evaluation of the team that we have, I'm sure he would have given the targets that he wanted. So in terms of centre-backs especially, we see De Vrij mentioned, we see Rudiger, we see Christensen. I don't think any of them will end up at Tottenham. So for a centre-back, it's kind of hard to tell, but look, from what we've said today, the most realistic target that I think Tottenham could bring in is Dejan Kulaszewski. Reg at Section UK says, any new links to players as Ali Gold just killed all the main targets in his vid? Yeah, he didn't really fill us with optimism during that video, did he? I'm not sure if he said anything on Kulaszewski, but he's definitely a new link. So I'll just go back to my notes there really quickly. There's Vlahovic, of course, not really a new link. Adama, the same. Arthur Mello, I suppose, from Longari, who said that we have been offered the chance to sign him from Juve, would probably be the newest link that we have there. God Save the Skip says, any updates on us having a partnership with Standard Liège? Any approach or offers for Dele or Doherty? Any murmurs about Chiesa coming in? And any word in the naming rights situation? Unfortunately, the answer to all of those is no. There's no updates in any of those. Chiesa, I think we can probably forget about. He's a very important player for Juventus. Any approach or offers for Dele or Doherty? It looks like Dele may be staying. Doherty, there's no real club mention at the moment. And the thing with Standard Liège and Enix seems to have gone dead, as has the naming rights situation. So a bit interesting on that one. I'd actually forgotten about the naming rights situation until you mentioned it. But I apologise at your 4 questions. The answer to all is I don't know. there's no update. Kevin Stanbridge as well, at K Stanbridge 1 says, is Kezia any good? Can't say I'm that impressed with what I've seen. Kezia is a very talented player. I think he's one who's used maybe a bit as a utility player for AC Milan. At times it maybe doesn't look too great. I remember the Milan derby a couple of weeks ago, and he's played at centre back and he gave away a penalty. It wasn't a very good performance from him, but look, he doesn't play there. You can't really ask too much from him. But very, very good player, and one that is attracting interest from a lot of clubs around Europe, not just from Tottenham. But again, if we are going to bring him in, we would assume it would be in the summer rather than in the January transfer window. So look, it's been a very busy stream. I wasn't expecting to go on for 40 minutes nattering away here on my own. John of the Cheeseroom, good to see you, my friend. John, I told everyone to go and subscribe to the Cheeseroom a while ago, so make sure to let them know in the live chat exactly why they should do that. And yeah, I love this shirt. Absolutely love it. Martin, a United fan, says, I'd flip the lid if Dembele joined United. And I imagine a lot of United fans are in strong agreement with you on that one, Martin. He's just not... He's not reliable enough. He's not... it's the injuries is the main thing. Talent-wise, again, incredible player, but he can't stay fit, and it's just it's a big problem for one problem, I'd say. I see a few more of you follow me there on Twitter. Ray Marshall, thank you. Boys in White, Daniel Crothers, I followed you all back, so thank you very much for that. Anyone else, again, if you haven't followed me on Twitter, at MattHaysTHFC. Hopefully we'll have more exclusive transfer news over the January. But the one to bring you for now, again, is that Harry Kane is in contract talks with Tottenham. And it looks like he wants to stay. Three goals and three now. Conte's getting the best out of him. James Watson says, big up, Matt. Thank you very much. Gua says, how's your FPL team doing? Do you know what? Like I do every year, I gave up on that in September, October. I'm not even sure I'm still logged in on my phone to check now. But yeah, FPL doesn't usually work out good for me. I'm not even logged in on my phone and I don't know the password, so I can't check now. But I'll have an update for the next stream, definitely. But look, for everyone who tuned in over the last 40 minutes, like I said, to hear me natter on about transfers, I do really appreciate it. We're only in 79 likes and there are 260 of you in here, so please do smash that like button if you have enjoyed the stream, or if you are looking forward to the January transfer window for Tottenham. Let's see if we can get that over 100. Like I said, 260 of you here. I'm sure you can get that done. Again, do make sure to follow me on Twitter at MattHayesTHFC, and hit that subscribe button down below if you want more of these transfer updates throughout the January window and a lot more exciting content coming in the new year. I appreciate, first of all, this is my last stream of the year. I will not be streaming tomorrow. So I just want to say an absolutely huge, massive thank you to every single one of you who tunes into these streams, every one of you who becomes a member, who hits those like buttons, who subscribes. It really is absolutely insane to me, and I think we've surpassed 1.5 million views on the channel this year. We're closing in on 12,000 subscribers. It's surpassed, I wouldn't even say the dreams that I had, because I didn't really have many dreams or aspirations when I started this channel. So to be at this level is truly incredible. And again, just 250 people watching live right now is truly bizarre. And there's been some crazy highlights from this year. In January I did some official media work for Wickham when we played them in the FA Cup. I still have a match programme up there with a full interview with me in it, given the Tottenham fan preview. In April, flying over to London to work on the Carabao Cup final with We Are Tottenham TV. A couple of months ago, winning the Silver Award, coming second in the Football Content Award, Young Content Creator of the Year. Really, there's been so many highlights, and without every single one of you in the live chat, absolutely none of it would have been possible. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all the support, and hopefully we can have a bigger, better year in 2022, both on the pitch for Spurs and on the channel here. Some exciting updates may be coming in the next weeks as well. So Niall, Spencer, Adam, Alexander, every single one of you in the live chat, I really do appreciate it. And as always, come on you Spurs.